All right, what is going on, guys? It is great to see you. So totally choppy sideways market today, um, and really just kind of looking into it. Um, haven't really seen a whole lot going on in the trade world right now, at least today. Just one second. So haven't seen a whole lot going on. Um, let me go ahead and pull up these charts here. We may have a guest a little bit later today, probably like a half an hour. Let's go ahead and grab here. And all right, so let's take a look at these charts today. So today we're totally sideways, and if we pull back here on like a 5-day chart, you can see that we had pulled back. We've tapped these kind of these lows, this bottom area, which we ended up tapping today a couple of times, now 4 times at this point. Um, and so the question is, for right now, is this the bottom of the market? Everybody's predicting a huge global financial crash in 2023. Um, like some of the biggest names in finance, um, global leaders, just everyday people. Um, because I just think that, we needed a recession a long time ago, long before COVID. We needed a recession, but we didn't get one because we were, kind of pushing up those markets. So, in any case, is this the bottom, at least for now? So that's the question I think that's on a lot of people's minds, and that's what I'm seeing here. We've tapped this a couple of times and bounced off that area of support around 3,600, and continue to bounce up. Excuse me, off that. Now for a potential move, um, here on the 5-minute chart, we are seeing some potential here. We are outside of the band, but we're coming up hitting VWAP here, and we are even getting the cyan switch on the 5-minute chart with a possible crossover. So that's looking actually pretty nice. Honestly, this looks like a reasonable place to even take a trade. But the 200 moving average, this is going to be our area of resistance. And on the 5-minute chart, it looks like we're about to break over that. So I don't mind jumping into a trade right around this area. I wish I could have got that pullback. I was trying to up my tick size here for my bracket order. Grabbing, joining the bid right here. All right, we got the entry. It didn't make the sound. It was a little late, but that's all right. Okay, got really close to that. Almost there. Cutting it right there, taking that profit. Up 437.50 on the day. First trade, pretty nice. Almost $500 on our first trade. Okay, getting a little pullback here. This is what we want to see. I think that we're going to see a break through this 200 moving average. I'm going to look for a nice entry point here. That's pretty close to the bottom of the candle. I'm going to try and get in there. And we're looking for another 12 tick rip. We didn't get that full 12 tick. We got about half of it or so on the last one. Now I'm just looking. The reason why I even took this trade had a lot to do with this 5-minute chart. This 5-minute chart, you see TTM is beginning to stack up 2.4. The next one's going to be at 735, which is in right now. So I'll be looking for the 5-minute chart to maintain above the volume weighted average price, which it did. Although the 5-minute chart opened red, that's okay. We did just get the 1226 crossover on the 5. I don't like that the TTM's outside of the Bollinger Band on the 5. We're going back down to almost break even on the day. Broke below the VWAP for the moment. I still have some confidence in this trade, even though we're down basically everything we made off our first trade. what I'm really looking for is for this candle to maybe come back up, fill back up, and maybe close around the volume weighted average price. It's got 10 seconds left to do that. And we're down 12 ticks in this trade right now, which is a lot. All right, we're probably gonna have to cut this. Yep. Oh wow. Poison crumb. We seem to have lost our 3-minute chart yet again. I don't know why I can't maintain a 3-minute chart anymore. I've had one for a long time. 3-minute chart. It's going from red to yellow on the TTM. So again, this trade doesn't look too bad, even though it looks bad. If that makes any kind of sense. We've got a possible crossover on the 3-minute chart. What I really want to see is this Bollinger Band, though, switch over to green. That's the part about this trade that actually sketches me out, is the Bollinger Band. Particularly on the 5-minute chart, because the 5-minute chart really holds a lot of the validity. Five-minute pulled way back, and we're gonna have to cut that. That is a big L, really unnecessary L, honestly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four red candles in a row. That is a pretty hefty rejection off the tuner moving average. Now, usually the tuner moving average, you've heard me talk about it, it does reject pretty strongly a lot of the time. But typically we would run back down and we would hit resist or support rather at the 50 EMA. So if we reject off the tuner, we would usually come down and bounce off the 50. And unfortunately, that did not happen. Not yet. Starting to come back a little bit. Just 1 second. Hey, what's up, Tiny? Laptop isn't notifying. I'm sorry to hear that. My phone's telling me. I'm ready to join, man. Headphones. Right on. Glad to hear it. Well, this chart's turned pretty sour pretty fast. So I'm gonna cut this trade right here. Definitely a fat trade, fat loss on that trade. It really didn't have to be that way. What was different than normal, one of the reasons why I held it for so long and ended up taking such a large loss, was because I expected the 200 moving average to reject. That was expected. If you notice, we got in around here. I was expecting a little bit of a bounce at the VWAP. It was okay if it pulled back to around the 50, the green line here. But dropping below that green line really takes a lot of the validity out of that trade for being a long trade. Because what we really want to see is the 50 running into the 200 moving average. When that happens, we tend to get a nice bounce off of that. So I was willing to pull back to about the 50 moving average. And the fact that we pulled beneath it shows a lot more weakness in this than we'd want to see. So having that pull back that far off that 200 moving average, I mean, like this ripped and it seemed like everybody sold and nobody bought back in. um, so now we're going to be looking for a trend reversal situation. So likely what's going to happen is we may get a bounce here, or we may pull back to where the TCM becomes like slightly red and then switches back over to yellow. But right now, I don't see any long side trade, mainly because this is finding its own bottom. And then at the same time, the 9's below the 12, and essentially the ordering of our moving averages is pointing toward the downside, so pointing for a downward move. We'll go short here for a real quick scalp. Hopefully we're gonna get that. We're looking for just 4 ticks, just to kind of work our way back up. Going instead for 2. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a hole to work our way out of. That's okay. We've done this before. We can work our way through it. So let's jump back. Let's jump back in here. All right, so there's that red on the TCM I was talking about. So I may want to see like 1 or 2 more red candles on the TCM, and then let's look for that yellow switch, and then look for a ride back up. It's like the dip, the rip, and the cyan switch. Nine below 12, 12 below 26, and all of it below 35. So that's not looking good for people on the long side. It almost seems like this is the bottom here for this, but what is that? 3,600? Yeah, that's actually a really good level there. There's a few up. It was at 36.09. And the bottom of the day is at 87-ish. What did this pull back to? 93. We're looking for that first candle, or that first yellow candle or so. Honestly, this kind of feels like the join part, but I'm not going to do anything until the candle turns yellow on the TTM. Because this could pull back like another $2 or something. Got 30 seconds or so left in this candle. A little bit less. Now about 10 seconds. 7:45 is not usually a turnaround point, though. Momentum to the downside went from 3 to 3 point. Let's see, actually. Went from 3 to 5 to 6.5. So that's a lot more momentum to the downside than I want to see on the TTM. So we're just going to have to wait. Totally out of tea. Drinking air. Hopefully some short ops in here. 93 was where we're at here. So this is almost like a double bottom right now. That location. Back where it was. Still waiting on that TTM to switch. Right now it went from 6.9 to 8.0. We're getting a green candle, so that does, hopefully turn into a yellow on the next one. There's a long way for that to go in order for it to turn yellow on this current candle, because we'd have to get all the way above 7, which would probably be like up here towards this 12. It would already be a huge rip. So there's a few seconds left in this candle. There it is. From 6.9 to 7.6. Still red on that TTM. Now 7.6 to 7.7, really close. There it is. Turn a bit here. And looking for a pretty hefty move to the upside. Pretty large swing here. 7.6, it's kind of like in between red and yellow at the moment. It's not a solid yellow. I'm preemptively taking the trade, which is not something I would normally do. But I have a reasonable amount of confidence that this will turn yellow, and that our next one will be yellow. A possible crossover up here. We look for 20 ticks, which is a massive swing. It's a $5 move to the upside. And our entry is at 98. So pretty good entry. We got in $2 under the 3,600 resistance level, so that's pretty good. $7.6 to $7.4, $7.3. 20 seconds left in this candle. Came close to our sell order there. 35 may act as resistance, but I think with the TTM stacking in the way that it's doing, so we went from 7.6 to 7.1 now. 7.3. Hopefully it ends at like 7.1, 7.2. Ended at 7.2 from 7.6, so it's 0.4, and then now we're at 6.8. Already opened 0.4 up on that TTM. This is our third yellow candle in a row. Now you can see that the yellow candles sometimes lag behind the greens. So this red candle here on the TTM was a green candle on the chart. And this is why this yellow candle, this dip, rip, and cyan switch is so powerful. It's just like you can see off of really bouncing off of this one here, but bouncing off of this guy here and continue to move up. And this was that double bottom that we talked about. So that definitely would have been a nice entry point, but it's a little risky buying at the bottom like that sometimes. Okay, our exit point is at 36.03, and we're currently at 36.01. So we're looking for $2 more to the up. Went from 7.2 to 6.9 to now 6.4. It's looking nice for that full 20 ticks. I don't think we've done a 20 tick trade before. So this would be pretty fire if this works out. It's right up at the 26 moving average. Our peak of this trade so far has been $1,000, which is like 18 ticks. Hands over the cover button. So close. One tick under. There we go. We got that. Okay, that was a $1,250 trade on that one. Brought us back to positive on the day. It was a 20 tick trade using the dip, rip, and cyan switch. You can see we haven't even gotten the cyan switch yet. It's just the dip and the rip portion of that cyan switch, and it's looking really, really fire. By the way, I may put together a strategy on this. A couple of people asked me about this yesterday, and so I may put together something for y'all. Got a possible crossover here. So what happened is we were waiting. So we took a bad trade right here for this breakthrough, the 200 moving average. This pulled back hard and pulled back well below the 50 EMA, which is where we would have wanted to see it hold support. But it did bounce off the double bottom area, and we did get the red to yellow on the TTM. And once that yellow happened, we entered into that trade, looked for 20 tick move, and then now we got out and got us back in a profit on the day. Taken 4 trades so far, and now we're getting a pullback off of the 50 moving average. Is off the 50? Let's take a look. It's actually more like off the 35. So 35 acting as resistance, pulling back off of that, somewhere in between, but I'm going to say the 35 just because this is, I typically don't say that it resisted that level until it actually touches that level. So resistance off the 35, possible crossover happening. What this means is this is the 12 and the 26, the cyan and the white line crossing. If the cyan crosses above, typically see a stronger move to the upside. Right now, hitting that resistance at that 35 zone, and the TTM went from 6.4 to 5.3 to 4.8 to 3.5. So we definitely are getting momentum toward an upward move. I don't know about 20 ticks because that's pretty intense, but we maybe we go for 12, which is still a very profitable and very substantial trade. But not ready to take this trade yet. The next area I'll be looking at is the crossover move, or possibly a break above the 50. What happened to our music? We just lost music. Daiso. There we go. All right. Just gonna catch up on some comments here real fast. Dude, hey, same. More coffee, man. Okay. So right here, about 7:53. What time is it? 7:55 almost. 9 just crossed above the 12. That's looking solid. A little bit of a pullback here. Looking for join the bid. Should have. It's whatever. Doesn't matter. So close. Come on. Tap it. There we go. That was a 12 tick trade to the upside, 812.50. So what that trade was a break above the 50 moving average. The reason why we took that trade, though, was not because of the 50. It was actually because you can see right here, the 9 crossed above the 12 moving average. That's also really powerful for these really quick moves. You got to be fast with though. You cannot hesitate. You can't be slow. But if the 9 crosses above the 12, this is also another opportunity to take trade. This is why it's so important to have multiple different strategies that you can trade in any market, including sideways. Sideways markets are probably the most dangerous markets to trade in. I was talking about that in our morning email. And yeah, so sideways market is by far, in my opinion, one of the most challenging and one of the most dangerous markets to trade in, because it's really easy to think something's going one way and then have it reverse and go the other way. So that's one of the reasons why I use a lot of the moving average indicators that I do use, as well as the TTM and all the indicators that I use in combination with each other, and they act harmoniously to allow me to trade multiple different strategies. Um, and most of them are developed for long term, but you can take the exact strategies and flip them and do them for short. I just have less practice in that area. Switching over to Vortex, looking for kind of a smaller scalp here. We did just get a cyan switch, and we have 14 seconds or so left on this candle. Under the bid here, and looking for Vortex to the upside, just $1. Should have entered off that doji. I felt a doji on the way. Dropping it down to 2 ticks. Do still have a little bit of momentum building on the TTM, but I may cut this. Cutting it. All right. Lost like 600 something bucks on that trade. What a challenging day. This is why I'm saying about the sideways market being as challenging as it is. Our peak of the day was 812.50, which is what we just lost off of. Of course, it just popped right back up. That was actually the pop I was looking for with this candle, but we didn't get it. So right now we need to wait, and here's why. So the TTM is showing cyan, but you can see we rejected off of the 50 moving average here. So we popped up above the 50 and pulled back to it, but rather than bounce off of it, we actually dropped below it. So we did reject that 50 moving average. And let's see, our 35 has not crossed above it. Our 9 just tapped above it, but didn't get there. The 12 and 26 never happened. I guess it did actually, like right here. But just so you know, the 12 and 26 are it's actually something that institutional traders watch for, and I've seen them create fake outs about around the 12-26 crossover, because it is a widely popular, very widely used strategy by retail traders. So market makers do look for that strategy. At least that's been my experience. From 3-3 to 3 or sorry, 2-3 to 2-7 on the TTM. It's a little bit of a stacking. Got a guest coming on right about now, and let's go ahead and bring her out. Oh man, didn't have my charts up. I'm sorry about that. All right. So Tanya, I'll drop you a link in Discord. All you got to do is click it, and you should pop up here. You're my very first guest on this stream here. So once that allows you to pop in, and we'll go from there. So then let's take a look at these charts here real fast. Oh gosh. Getting a little bit of pop back. One day I'll be like perfect at running the stream. I'll be like have all the transitions and be like pew pew pew. It'll be like great. Hey, what's up, Tiny? I think you're muted. 1 second here.
How's that? Okay, let me try this.
All right, we do have Tiny here, and looks like we don't have video or audio from you, so you could be muted. And make sure your webcam is turned on.
1 second, Joel. 1 second. How's that? How's that? Can you hear me, Joel? Can you hear me?
I
Can
can't
you hear me,
you.
Joel? How's that? I'm trying to get. All
I found it.
right, can
That's
you
my
hear me
fault.
now?
There's a Yeah, I can hear you. There's a volume adjustment on my side in this back office here. So
Perfect.
so you good. Do you have a webcam at all?
I do. Yeah, let me engage that for you.
No worries.
Let's see how I do that now. Disabled, engage. Let's do that. Where's my camera? There it is. Okay, there's my face.
Right on. It was good to see you. Wow. It's so interesting. Put a face to a name. I've been talking to you for years. So okay, guys. So this is Miss Tiny Trader, and
Hi,
she's been
folks.
hanging out since day one. So happy to have you here. So Tiny, what have you got for us?
Well, I have took a couple of trades with you on that last little thing, and I'm using my Chalk and Money floor, trying to figure out how to use that properly. And I'm up $25, but it's taken
Nice.
4 trades.
Taking 4 trades up 25. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't think I'm doing it right.
Which strategy are you working on?
All of the above.
All of the above, all at once, all the time.
So when it's above like the VWAP, it's bullish. Below, it's bearish.
Mhm.
So I've got several indicators.
Okay. I'm not sure what functions you have if you have access to sharing your screen or anything like that, but we're actually getting a push up on the VWAP right now. So right now we're actually tapping the VWAP and kind of running up into resistance at the VWAP and the 200 moving average. So that's just what I'm seeing on the charts right now. But yeah, so what have you've been developing your future strategy now for when did you start doing futures?
Off and on for about 2 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
John helped me with Top Step a while ago, and I failed the ad.
got it. Okay. So I guess one of the things that I'm curious about is like what has been your experience so far with trading futures, and what draws you to futures versus like stocks or something else?
I like futures because you can trade them pretty much 24/7.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I like a lot about futures, actually. Um, and so another question that I have is, so since I've been doing the stream here, which has been less than 90 days, or maybe we're coming up on 90 days actually. Wow, that's kind of crazy to think about. So coming up on about 90 days, and you've been here pretty much the whole time. So have you been trading futures that whole time?
Off and on. I flip back and forth. That's another thing I do.
Yeah.
Whatever moves, I trade it, Joel.
Right on. Okay. So has there been like what has been the experience like actually developing a strategy, or trying to come up with something that is kind of rock solid for you?
Absolutely a nightmare. Everything I've tried works for a minute, and then it stops. I don't know. I think it has to do with I'm not reading the trend correctly ultimately.
Okay. Okay. Um. So. This is kind of interesting because I know that like this is probably the biggest challenge that I had as well in trading was actually having a strategy that is like kind of clear cut. Um, and even now to this day, having one that is as clear cut as I would like it to be, like almost like textbooks, where like I show up to class and they're like, okay, step one is, and step two is, and that's been a real challenge for me. That very much was in the beginning and for like the first 2 years of trading. And it really wasn't until I developed my own strategies that things really kind of fell into place. But I built my own strategies off of other people's strategies for a lot of the
Hmm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
you mentioned another YouTuber that we're both part of a
Hmm.
community in, solid community, and you mentioned his VWAP strategy.
Hmm.
And his VWAP strategy is super powerful. But if you notice, like one of the things I've seen is that he does it better just than just about anybody else. And
Yeah.
that includes myself too. And that has a lot to do with because he developed so much of that by himself. Um, just like the TTM, like I don't really know anybody who trades that way with the TTM. And I've not really seen that many people talk about it. I've seen a couple videos on it, but outside of those videos, I don't really see anybody live trading it. I don't see anybody even showing their own trades with the TTM a lot of the time.
Yeah, right.
Um,
That's one of the rare ones out there. Yeah. Yeah, they do. It's
s-
usually the RSI, yeah.
the
Gosh, your
MACD,
volume indicator, MACD. Mhm.
yeah. And obviously those things work. They work for a lot of people. But I think that one of the things that I really learned myself just over the period of time was that I would experiment with a lot of different indicators, and then I try to find ones that felt like they were working for me. So I have a couple indicators on stocks that I don't have on futures. One of them is I've got this like horrible alarm sound that is absolutely just awfully horrendous. It's so terrible. I hate the sound, and I love that I hate the sound because what that sound indicates when it goes off is that a volume surge is happening around the volume weighted average price. So I had a really hard time figuring out like utilizing the VWAP bounce strategy. And so I went out and I found this indicator on tosindicators.com, I think is their website. It's like
Okay.
a forum, TOS scripts, actually. It's like a forum, and they got a bunch of free indicators there for Thinkorswim. And what happens is when the um, when the candles are by the volume weighted average price, the indicator will go off, and it'll go off when a surge of volume happens at the VWAP. So it lets you know to get in or to get out based off that sound. It's two different sounds. So when it's like getting out, it's like like it's like a gong ringing in your head. It's super loud. And when it says like get in for the upside, it rings like just like a dinner bell, like really loud. Uh,
That's awesome, dude.
and and so like I've actually utilized that and just traded off that sound and just that. And so eh, finding that thing that is for you is incredibly important. I think that one of the things that um, I don't know, myself, I personally struggle with is kind of following like almost like too many different strategies from too many different people, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. I kind of flip flop. I think
And
that's due to the type of market we're in because it's not
mhm,
respecting VWAP, not
no,
respecting
it's not.
levels very well on either side.
Hmm.
And I just don't know how to trade that really. I try to find patterns. I can see triangles, bear flags, bull
Hmm.
flags. I can see increasing volume. I can see all of that. It's just hitting that enter button and that sell button that seems to be getting me right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. Um, do you utilize bracket orders at all in your trading?
I used to way
Hmm.
back in the beginning when I started. It was more of a swing trading. I'm
Okay.
finding they're not very useful on the paper trading now.
See, I actually have the opposite experience. I pretty much always use bracket orders in futures. I don't use them in stocks. I do use the price ladder, and I used to use bracket orders in stocks, but I use bracket orders in futures a lot of the time because I'm looking for the I futures sometimes move so quickly that I want to be able to get in, get out, and so the bracket orders really help me because it automatically sets my sell order where I want it to be. So that's what that's personally been my experience with utilizing bracket orders, but I use them on the price ladder so that I can make adjustments in mid trade if I need to. Um,
So that's what I was going to ask you because I found when I have my bracket set, you get that
yeah,
big movement. I'm stuck in a bracket.
you're
Maybe
stuck in the bracket. What do you mean by that?
I, I think I do the OCO. I think that's what the difference is.
Oh, okay. So I use trigger orders, which I think is the same as the OCO. I don't know if I can share my screen. I think, let's see. Oh, here. Okay, here we go. So, oh, look at that. We're both on the bottom there. Oh, wow. We got, that's not going to work. We got the system audio like interfering. I can turn off the music here real fast and let me share the screen.
So do you
All
use
right. So,
one bracket, two brackets, one bracket? So do you use one bracket? So do you use one bracket? So do you use one bracket?
wow. I don't know why we get so much echo. That's very annoying. Do I use one bracket? I do. I use one bracket with no stop loss. And what I do is I'll edit the amount of ticks that I'm looking for in between each trade. So if I'm looking for, um, say, 5 ticks or something like that, and I feel that the motion the momentum is there for that 5 ticks, I'll change it to over to 5 ticks. Now, if I feel like if it's going to be a more momentum move, then I'll change it over to 12 ticks. And then I'll just essentially have that pre-done in there so that when I hit join the bid or when I choose my spot on the price ladder, it'll once it fills, it'll automatically set my sell order. And that's actually part of my strategy as a whole because without that, I'm going to have to manually set a sell order or hit the flatten button in order to get out in a time frame that is reasonable.
Aha, I see it. Yeah, I've got my bracket orders on the
Yeah,
on the POS. You know your volume ladder there.
yeah. So and then if you have them set to trigger, which is TRG, and then there's like a little music looking note type thing, which is called tick offset. You can actually have it look however you want. Or sorry, you can actually set the ticks however you want.
Like minus
I don't
one,
know why I
minus
have that like feedback loop.
two, or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. So like on the trigger order, I've got +4 on mine at the moment. It could be plus anything rather. But speaking of trades and trade strategies, so we did actually pop up through the 200 moving average, pull back to the volume and average price, and we're getting a little bit of a bounce off that. Kind of consolidation at VWAP at the moment.
Looks like we're hanging out at the previous close too.
Yeah, I actually did not notice that. So,
I have a line drawn up on there, Joel, per
you
minute,
do.
and it just follows everything. Yeah.
Let's see. So, getting a cyan switch on the 5 minute chart.
So like it indicates like for coming up, if VWAP is below the previous close
Yeah.
and they're both headed up with any kind of volume, I can usually rely on a good long trade. Quick scalp rather.
I was like, a short long trade. How do you do this?
Yeah.
What's this mysterious strategy? Short long. Um,
My
yeah.
terminology is not the same.
No, I totally understand. Kind of a challenging trade day, honestly. This is why I say sideways markets, shopping markets are the most dangerous to trade in. Um, I just took a tiny little trade. We're up 437.50 on the day. Um, by the way, another thing too is that I actually trade kind of a lot of contracts. I trade five now, um, and the reason for that was because when I was trading one or two contracts or something like that, for me it's very challenging to get motivated by that. I've never been motivated by the $10 a day or $15 a day kind of thing. It's always been really challenging to do that.
Yeah.
In stocks, it was a little bit different. In stocks, it was like building that balance. So it sounded like you just took a story.
Yeah, I did, and I just used your trigger, and it worked perfectly, Joel.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Glad to hear
now
that.
we know. Yeah.
So, how'd that trade work out for you?
I'm up $100
Hell yeah,
off
that's
of 5
awesome.
trades total. So yeah, we're probably down in fees and whatnot.
Well, how many contracts have you taken?
I only do one at a time.
I mean, in total for the day,
We're total 5 now.
five contracts.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's 21.80 in fees, and you're up $100. So that means you're up 78.20 on the day.
Nice, nice.
So the contract fees are $4.36 per contract.
Yeah.
Um,
I got them
so
written down here. Yeah,
okay.
376 is what it was
Oh
total.
yeah, I think they're a little bit cheaper on TOS. I put them at 436 because that's what a lot of the prop firm contract fees are.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I put them at $4.36. So that way I can literally test my strategy. Because I'm looking to utilize and bring as many of those strategies to the evaluations as we possibly can. And and typically, like I'm when I look at the trade day, like when I come in and assess the market, sometimes I'm looking at, okay, what are some of the different strategies that I might use today? Today, the main question I'm asking myself is, am I going to swing or am I going to be going for
Mhm.
base hits? Like, that's the main question I'm asking myself when I get into trade. Because my strategies, for the most part, are going to work regardless of whether or not it's sideways or up or down. Um, but it's more about how big am I going for swings. And um, one of the things that I personally, and let me know if you do it all or not, but I personally struggle to cut trades quickly. And one of the reasons for that is I'm like, okay, well, I'm already in this trade. I'm down $500, but I'm up 400 on the day. Uh, if I cut it now, then I've got to redo all that work, and a lot of times it'll just bounce right back. But so that's been personally a really big challenge for me. Um,
I'm right there with you,
yeah.
Joel. Yep, it seems like I'm not holding the winners long enough, and I'm holding the losers too long.
That is that's such a huge challenge with trading just in general. Wow, huge rip off the View app
See, yeah,
actually
it's
just
nice.
now.
Yeah, big volume
Um
push. Money
yeah,
lines
it
going up.
actually, yep, looks like we're getting more of a solid move to the upside.
Do your
Let's
order.
see
I'm gonna go
here.
in real quick.
Yeah, I also just hit trade. Looking for a I was looking for 12 ticks, but I'm actually going to put my sell order at so I'm in at 36.13.
I was in at 36, 12.75.
That's nice, actually.
So I did a
A little bit.
1 point drop, I think it was. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now we're down 137. 50.
Yeah, we're pulling back.
But we're still on that previous close. We just bounced right off of it. And the
Okay.
200, I think.
Yeah, and this candle's filling back up. So I was looking to get out at 36.14.75, which is just under the 36.15 resistance point, but did pull back pretty much all the way to the View app. And how much time we got left in this candle? We got 15 seconds. I know y'all can't see our charts.
Oh, I wish I
I
could
haven't
share
quite.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I can share it, but then I get this weird audio loop. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm not quite figured that out yet. There's still like a lot of like streaming software type stuff that I'm trying to figure out. It's definitely not as user friendly as you would want it to be.
I wouldn't even know how to use
Um,
any of that, Joel.
it's it's definitely like it's its own challenge. Pulling all the way back to View app. Um, but yeah, so I wanted to just check in with you and just kind of see like what you're running into in terms of developing your strategy. Um, you know, like what are some of the challenges that you've been experiencing, and um, and just I'm gonna go ahead and cut that down 625 on the day. So just yeah, like what you're experiencing and running into, like creating your own strategy. Like what are some of the things that you've done that have worked for you? That's a
It,
question.
it was so hard. Everything, writing trades, planning my trades, everything, Joel. It's for me not execution. I have to do it a bunch of times, and then it might work out.
Okay.
Terrible
Okay.
way to trade, but that's how I have to do it, unfortunately.
Um, have you utilized the TTM at all? Have you tried that
Mhm. I
type of
tried.
strategy?
I could not read it, couldn't understand it at all.
Okay. Okay. Well, I do have a sort of a refined strategy for the TTM that is not up on that original TTM video. So it's a little bit different than the way that I do it with the TTM. And that the reason for that is that video was designed off stocks, not futures.
Oh, okay.
So um, so it's a I did take that strategy to futures and it did sometimes work, but I ended up with a lot of like false positives with it. Um, so and I assume it's because the TTM in stocks is actually representing more the real time movement and futures as well. It's futures
Mhm.
trading on
That makes
future
sense.
price volatility. Um, so TTM
So,
actually stepping outside the Bollinger Band. Go on.
so do you do two brackets or single bracket?
I use a single bracket order, and the reason is because I don't scale out of orders. I literally am just like, okay, I'm just taking the whole thing off right now. So I might take four ticks or six ticks or just depending on where I think the momentum is at. And when I enter, I want that entry really to be like obviously as low as possible. Get that rip and get out and take that whole profit off the table. So that's why I use the single bracket order. Um, there is the opportunity to be able, you can do, three brackets and even four brackets. And I think you can actually just make it kind of endless. And so you could scale out your entire order out. It goes up five ticks, take, 20% off, another five ticks, and another 20% off. But the reason why I don't do that is because I've actually had trades where I did that and I followed that scaling method, and I made profit all the way up. And then the last thing on there, like we'd get like a pullback, and I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm still gonna leave that sell order there, and it'd come up and it would like stop right below my top sell order, and then like I've actually had it become a falling knife and end up losing money on the trade.
Yes, and
Um,
that's why I don't scale in or out.
Yeah, exactly. So I just
100.
literally I'm like I'm in, and then I have a set sell order out, and then if it drops below that, I usually just cover and get out with whatever profit is there. And I'm like with futures, I actually have the real ability to I can always get back in kind of mentality, which I always wanted to have with stocks, but with stocks like you'll hear a lot of traders be like, "Oh, well, you can always get back in." I'm like, not really. Not if you have a
Mhm.
smaller cash account
Right.
and you utilize your equity in order to access that trade right now.
Mhm. Yes, I
So
agree.
And that's that. I think the vast majority of people are trading with a smaller cash account, and they're not trading with 30 or 40 or $50,000. They're trading with $1,000 or 2,000
Mhm.
bucks or something like that. And when they go in at $500-600 into that trade, um, you know, and they sell it, or for a loss or a profit, is regardless. But they cannot get back in. You're done for the day, or you're done for till your funds resettle in 2 business days. So it's not the same thing. So with futures, one thing I really like is that like you said, you can trade 24/7, but it's independent of, like, you don't have to worry about cash transaction settling and waiting 2 business days. So
You
so
just
I
have to have
can.
a lot of cash to trade it
Yeah,
with
you
futures.
do if you're trading live futures, which is one of the reasons why we utilize prop firms. It's because we can trade somebody else's money. Um, Getting past the evaluation is by far its own challenge, but um,
So if I'm going to do a trigger order right now,
yeah,
we're dropping below the averages here.
yeah, we
Yeah, we're
just dropped
getting
below the VWAP.
the previous close. I'm still riding on my 50 under the 200 and right around the 9, the EMA 50. Yeah,
Yeah.
all my averages are EMAs.
Do you have any simples?
No, I find that they are not as they're too
I
bumpy. They're
typically,
just too much.
yeah, I have
Look
two
at it.
simple moving averages, just two, and I basically use them as bearish indicators only. And I never really put that into words before until just now. But I have the 200 simple moving average. That's that red one that you see on my charts, and that one right there. Um, when we utilize that one, oh man, what am I trying to say? I use that one as a resistance level. The other thing is that I use it as a crossover. So if I get like a 9 crossing above it, I know that there's going to be some bullish move.
Hmm.
Or if I get like the 50 crossing above it, I know there's going to be more bullish move. Basically, if my exponential moving averages cross above my simple moving averages, there's going to be bullish momentum. So I have another 26 simple moving average where, if anything gets above that, we're going to see a bullish move. So I use simple moving averages essentially as bearish moving averages. And if any exponentials get above the simples, uh, we pretty much see bear or bullish momentum.
I'm going to give that a shot.
So one example is you said you have the 9 on your chart, the
Mm-hmm.
9 EMA. One example would be utilizing the 26 SMA.
Find it here. There it is. Okay. What number did you say, Joe?
26 SMA, simple moving average.
That red light here. Okay.
Right now, the 50 is bumping up against the 200 almost.
Okay, so yeah, it's riding right on that simple.
Yep. And so, like, essentially, if we see the 9 and the 12 cross above, but the 9 mainly cross above that 26, then typically we're going to see a bullish move to the upside. I'm actually looking
Yep.
for a trade up here, looking for an entry.
And I displaced it by 3. It moves it forward and it still shows it. It really makes it a leader.
Just entered in now, and I'm looking for this U-shaped breakout.
Are you in a sell or a buy?
Buy. I'm long, but looks like I should have gone short. This is why choppy markets for me is by far one of the most challenging ones because we get a lot of false positives.
Something else I found out too, Joel.
Hmm.
So futures markets open at 3, 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if their activity is the next morning's SPY, NASDAQ, Dow, and all that. I haven't been able
Um.
to figure that out yet, though.
Yeah. So essentially, in the afternoon, when the futures market opens, for you know, globally, they basically only shut it down for like an hour. Um, so you can trade like 23 hours a day.
Hmm.
But when the futures markets open, um, it's that is considered the next day, the next trading day.
Hmm.
So so if it's 3 p.m., then you're actually trading tomorrow. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Yes.
So
And that's what I was wondering is the SPY then comes in, and how do the way the times overlap.
yeah, so are you saying that like if we have like a bullish afternoon session in the futures market, we're likely to have a bullish pre-market the next day?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually true. So that's something that I've been seeing as well. But if you notice at 5:30 a.m., which is 8:30 market time, that typically is where we actually get sort of the trend on the day. So a lot of times the SPY will run up in the afternoon session and all the way into the pre, and at 5:30 a.m. it just goes and just drops off a cliff
Hmm.
at like exactly 5:30. So I always make sure that I'm flat for any positions at 5:30 a.m. because we could see a huge plummet or a big rip. But the rips I've noticed are typically a lot smaller than the plummets, and that could be because we're we're very much entered into a recession. But we're in the very beginning of it, so they could turn it around. Who knows? But excuse me. um, but that's one of the reasons why I tend to be flat at 5:30 in the morning. Is because of that exact thing.
And so with your elite trading, you can't hold futures overnight, can you?
No. So the only thing that they really ask you to be flat for is at 2 p.m. Uh, Pacific time,
Hmm.
so 5
Hmm.
p.m. Eastern. So they essentially ask you to be flat for that, and then you can re-enter positions an hour later. Um, and there's usually a huge volume surge at like 12:50, uh, 3:50 Eastern time. So there's usually a huge volume surge, so a lot of opportunity to trade from the hour of 12 to 1. But it's volatility that we're really seeking, and too much volatility is bad, but not enough volatility is bad. So you have to find that kind of like that sweet spot. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I've been chopped up in it all.
yeah, yeah. I well, if there was something that you would say that is most important for you in order to develop a strategy, or I should say, in order to develop a adaptable, malleable, multiform strategy that can work for you in just about any given situation, or work for you in the ability where you're able to look at the charts and say, you know what, my strategy doesn't work on a day like this. I'm going to walk away. Um, what do you think it would take for you in order to get to that point?
Just doing what I'm doing, getting up every day, keep looking at the screens, practicing trades, and then
Okay.
eventually it'll just all click.
Is there do you have like journals or anything like that of insights, things that you're like, okay, well, this worked, this didn't work, here's why I think it didn't work, here's why I think it did work, etc.
I was doing that for a long time,
Hmm.
again, a couple of years, and I'm finding that I'm not either remembering it or it works once, doesn't work, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So like, ah, it's like, Joe, I know what I'm doing. I'm buying on, I know I'm buying at resistance, thinking it's a breakout sometimes.
I
I
do
buy
that
on
a lot.
support, it
Hmm.
drops.
Yeah.
I think my timing is just not right yet. But
Okay.
it'll get there.
Got it. So it's kind of like developing that intuitive sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Right on.
There's
Um,
all the indicators in the world I've used, and
hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first like few years I was kind of looking for that like golden indicator, that like hidden one that no one knows about. The one that's like would tell me to buy here and sell here.
Mm.
And I
I did
just
that for the first year.
yeah.
Trading, yeah.
They just they don't exist.
Yeah.
Indicators are there to indicate something, not
Mhm.
to do something for you. Um, and I think that was a hard reality that I had to come to um, in just all of this this whole journey. For me, you know, everything has been a build on something else. My very first strategy that I actually had, so my first 3 months trading, trading stocks anyway, I basically would just buy low, sell high, and that was my whole strategy. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no training at all of any kind. I did happen to make money my first month, and that kind of was like, oh wow, I could actually be good at this. Um, and all I did was look for things that had volume and that were moving that day, and I would just simply buy it in the morning and sell it in the afternoon. It was really kind of all I did. It wasn't until about 3 months or so into trading that I discovered the 12-26 crossover. That was actually taught by John over at Beginner Trading at that time. And
Mhm.
I'd only been trading for 3 months. Um, and so I utilized that 12-26. It worked really well for about 2 months. And then October came and it just didn't work at all. I was running into false positives, running like false breaks. I'm like, oh, okay, the 12-26 just crossed over, buy here, and then like buy, then it would just go, it just flatten right out and go right down. And I actually ended up losing all the money that I had made from it over that like 2 months that I was trading
Mhm.
it, and then some, and lost a lot more. And then it was like, okay, this worked for a while. Now what? And so that's when I started utilizing different moving averages. And I discovered a moving average by accident, which was the 35 EMA that I had applied to my charts accidentally. And
Oh.
one thing I noticed was that in utilizing the 35 EMA in conjunction with the 12 and the 26, is that the 35 would actually let me know about 20 minutes before a breakout happened.
Wow.
Um, and so, and it was a complete accident, but it went along with developing my strategy, and I still use that now to this day. So basically, if the 35 EMA starts crossing, rising above the 26, then there's an opportunity there for a trend reversal that is incoming to the upside.
And then I added on one of my charts a -3 to make it leading.
I'm sorry, I
It
didn't
did
hear the last part you said.
to make it leading. So when I put a -3 on the displacement,
Yeah,
it makes it pushes out the line further than everybody else.
interesting.
And so and
Okay.
it'll go up or down, then it'll go up or down.
Hmm. Interesting. It's just right now the chart is just straight chopping at the view app. It doesn't know if it wants to be bullish or bearish.
Right.
And basically
Not a lot of
flat
volume either.
on. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So this is exactly that sideways markets are the most dangerous to trade. um, because you don't know whether or not it's going to go up or down. Chart patterns don't work. A lot of your strategies might not work and stuff like that. So one of the strategies of your strategy should be knowing when not to trade.
I've
Just
noticed that,
saying.
yes. That is the biggest
Yeah.
challenge when everybody talks about their strategy, this, that on YouTube. They're only going to work in certain markets.
Yes, exactly. And
And
that's why it's important to have a strategy that can work in a lot of different markets. But like even right now, the with the current chop where it's just chopping above and below the view app,
mhm,
my
yep,
strat doesn't work for that. I can read the charts and kind of interpret and guess where it's going to go, but I end up taking way more trades than I should and a lot for a lot less profit.
yes.
So on days like today, this is typically where I want to like take one trade or something like that off of one thing that matches my strategy, and then kind of walk away. So
Yes. So it's like when yesterday you were up $1,300. I was like,
mhm.
leave, Joel, leave. And you took another trade, you were down, but then you took one more and then you were right back.
Yep,
So I was like,
exactly.
yay.
Yeah, exactly. But yesterday we had a lot more volatility. Like today, I took that one trade right off the bat, and we were up 437.50.
Mhm,
Um, and we ended up taking another trade, looking for that continued volatility, and we didn't get it. We just ended up falling back down. Worked our way out of a profit, worked our way back into red, and
mhm.
back into green again, and back into red now. And so that's what I'm saying is that like your strat's not going to work in every situation and in every market. So for me, I've noticed when it's sideways, there's just I have no edge there.
I see
And I
now
think
we
that
just got a big fat push above the previous
oh
close, two fat
wow,
volume
look at that.
bars.
Yeah, that is a nice rip.
Hmm.
Now does it maintain, because this thing's rejected here so many different times that it's like you get to a point to where you're like, I don't trust it. You know what I mean?
I'm going to go for it. We're above the median on my regression tool,
Okay.
linear regression, which I've been told is a buy. So we're going to see what happens here.
I would also say one thing too is that like like leaning into a strategy, I think is really valuable. Leaning into it for enough time to start noticing patterns with it is
Yes.
really important as well. Um,
It took me 3 years to see patterns.
yeah,
Now I can see like pretty much every one of them. Again, but how to trade them is difficult.
it's definitely the how to trade aspect of things is that's the hardest part. There was a 5200 cross here not that long ago. Checking in on the 5 minute chart.
It
5 minute
seems
chart is
bullish,
still
yeah.
outside. Yeah, it does. TTM went from 2.5 up to 4.5. That's a lot of momentum on the 5 minute chart. It is outside of the Bollinger Band though, which I don't like.
On the 15, I'm looking at like some kind of long doji. I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, we didn't like that trade at all.
yeah, I know. I cut mine too.
Yep,
Um,
we're out.
but yeah,
But
so
that's part of the process that I struggle with right there. I'm like, wait, why didn't it work?
well, I think that one of the reasons why this one didn't work is really because if you look at the 3615 on on this chart here, it's rejected at 3615 already a couple of times. It actually didn't quite get there,
Mhm.
but it's kind of that same zone from like 3612 to 3615 where it's rejected over and over again. But also, I don't know that. I mean, I guess the volume is not bad. The volume is like 5,000 6,000 contracts, but it's just not. I don't know. There's just not a direction when it's sideways like this. I don't trust really most of the breakouts, um, because will begin to see those breakouts, and we're like, okay, eight out of 10 days of the week, of the year or whatever, um, it's a volatile day. There's upward move
Mhm.
or there's downward move, so it's easy to interpret. But when it's sideways and markets don't know which direction they're going to go, it's very difficult to trade and apply any strategy to, whether that is RSI or MACD or TTM
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
or the crossover strategies, because every one of them is going to say, okay, this is a buy point, and then you see that false breakout, and then it's like, because it's an indicator, it's late to the party in order to like
Yes.
indicate when it's time to sell. So you might be up for a tick or two, and then have it just reject on you. um, and that has a lot to do really um, with people who are either taking their trades before you, and selling off, or just straight up market conditions where people don't know if they want to get in or out, and they're like, oh, this didn't break right away, I got to cut that. Or I'm trying to get in for this breakthrough. But whatever the situation is, it just in in markets where it's sideways like this, I don't personally have any edge, and I don't really know anybody who does
Yeah, I don't know
when it's
either. Other
sideways.
than that, what are they called? The butterfly options, I believe, it's where they don't go anywhere and you make money.
I've never heard of those.
Yeah, I think it's either that or the strangle or the straddle. It's one of those.
I've
Yeah.
never heard of I've never heard of those at all. But I'm gonna have to look that stuff up.
What was I
Um,
going to say? There's a key to trading that I heard, and it does make sense. I'm trying to
okay.
think of it. Oh, I know what it was. What I want to ask. They need a script or an indicator that shows when orders are, how do I put it, open to buy or sell to close, where you can see the actual side of the trade that they're executing. Does that make sense?
Uh, yeah, kind of like time and sales, or like bulls versus bears.
So yeah, so time and sales, so it'll tell you there's green or red.
Yeah.
But on that red, that doesn't tell me if that's from a buy long to a sell close, or is that
Ah.
a short sell opened up and then they're going to buy to close later.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Um, no, I don't really know that that will ever be available. And I think one of the reasons for that is because live short data just isn't available. I think the best
Mm,
place I found that be available to a degree, which updated it multiple times throughout the day, but not, it's still not live, which was Ortex, and it's
right.
pretty pricey. They do have like a 7-day free trial. This is not sponsored, by the way. Um, but they do have like a 7-day free trial on Ortex, and I've used it. But you also get one free page view per day. So like, so long as and they just have like a 24-hour cookie. So if like that you only want to look up one stock, um, you can look up that stock on that day and leave the page up, and get the short flow data for that day. Um, and it'll kind of update throughout the day. You can also clear your cookies and just review it. But yeah, Ortex is probably one of the best ones in order to give live short data. Um, but it's not like a time and sales where it's like this person entered long, that person entered short.
Right.
Uh, so that would be, I think that would be amazing. I don't know that there's any way for the systems to be able to work together to be able to give
They
that
won't let it
information
happen.
out.
Market makers aren't going to let that one happen.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
why would they? it,
Guaranteed.
it gives the retail traders too much of an edge. But you know what though?
Hmm.
Maybe at one point legislation will actually be in that favor to say, hey, you have to report live short data. Um, and if they do, then that would totally be on the table.
That would be
I
great. I'd
personally,
pay for that.
yeah, exactly. I personally think that they should. I think that they should be required to determine whether or not there's a long or short, and that should be accessible information to everybody. I think it would make markets. I think I think it would make markets more transparent. I think it would
Mhm.
add a challenging aspect to trading. Personally, I actually think in some degrees it would be easier, and in other ways it would be harder. Um, and I think the easier side of things is to be like, oh, okay, well, um, there's a lot of shorts at this price, so I'm not going to buy that. Um, so I think they would give that that value. I think that the side of things that it would really hurt would be that the short traders are all now having to show their hands and be like, oh well, we're all going short at $15. So I think that that would be a an advantage to long buyers and a disadvantage to short sellers.
Good point. Yeah. And the time in sales does give you an idea of what's going on that way too.
It does if you're able to follow it, but when there's like high volatility, it's like practically impossible to follow it. I do leave it up on my screen, but I don't
Hmm.
know how much I actually use it. I use it, I think, the most when I just see a huge amount of green just kind of just whoosh, cascade through. Then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'll increase my sizes. So if I
Mm,
see that there's a more green on 10 contracts versus one or two,
yeah,
they're buying. They're most likely they're buying.
yeah.
Yeah, all
You
right.
actually
Let's see
got
if
a
there's,
U shape.
yeah,
Got a U
yeah, it
shape
looks almost like
breakout.
a candle. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did pretty bad on trading today. My own self. We did just make 250 back, but down 1750 on the day.
Ooh,
It took way too many trades.
yeah, I'm down
But that's
75 with
that's
7 trades.
yeah, that's the issue with chop though, man. How many trades have I taken? I've taken 65 divided by 5, 13 trades. So yeah, we're coming up on 9 o'clock. Probably gonna end up shutting her down here.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Um,
Thank you for letting me come on today, Joe. I really appreciate it.
yeah, happy to have you here, and keep working on that strategy.
Yes.
And it, if it's at all possible, I might try and look at like some of the different strategies that you tried, and maybe break them down into their own individual, like I don't know, Word document or something like that, and just be like, I like this about this one, I like that about that one, and then maybe able to develop your own style. It's kind of like an art form.
It is be kind of cool to see which of the strategies work best in which markets.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing too. That I was really doing for a long time was like being like, okay, today is this strategy. Tomorrow is maybe that strategy. Yesterday was this other strategy over here.
I think
And kind
that
of
is very
bouncing
much in
back.
line.
Yeah, and if that's in line, then go that way because that will
It's
help you develop your style.
it's just figuring out which one for which day is where I'm at now.
Yeah, that could just be like sitting back watching and asking yourself emotionally, just which one fits with me today.
Hmm.
um,
Yes, that's
I
reading the market. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, but I don't know, for me it's like, yes, it is reading the market, but for me it's like i I feel like I'm almost like an emotional trader in the sense that like I'm like, okay, well, which one am I more in line with today, which one am I more in tune with. um,
Yes.
you
Same way,
know
Joel. In the same way.
um, so that stuff matters to me, like my how I'm empathetically interpreting the market and how I'm like aligned with my own energy, and then also too like how is my emotional state, like did I
Mhm.
get enough sleep, uh should I even be trading today, it's kind of like trading behind like drunk trading or something. um
I
Getting
did that
behind
the
the
other
wheel
day.
when you're tired.
way too early and tried to make a trade and was down like 500 or something like that. I was like, nope, we're done. Gotta go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, checking all that stuff, like that actually is part of your strategy. It's kind of the base template of your strategy is, did you eat well? Did you sleep well? How are you feeling emotionally? What's your alignment like? Um, I mean, to
Trader
me, that,
psychology. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. I've had days where I've woke up and I'm like, I'm ready to trade, and then I'm like, I don't feel it. I haven't even got to my computer yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the days that I've listened to that and just like, all right, I'm gonna sleep in because it doesn't seem like the right day for me to trade. And then I go and I check the markets later, and then I have my FOMO, uh, and then I'm like, okay, well, I should have traded today. Maybe I should have. And then tomorrow though, I'll wake up refreshed. But I've had days though where I'm like, nah, I'm gonna trade anyway. It went down and jumped on my computer, and the market was ripping, but not for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, oh, I entered in too high or entered in too low or whatever the case may be, and it just was like, just had an all day struggle on those days, and I'm like, even though
Mm-hmm.
everybody else seemed to make money, it just seems like I should have just not been here.
Yes, sir.
So
Been there, been there, been there.
yeah, so I mean, that's probably one of the first things I started asking myself every day when I wake up before I trade is, how am I feeling right now? Uh, am I good to just go jump on the computer? Do I need a cup of coffee? Do I need to like take an extra hour or something before I show up? Because there's pretty good volatility up until about 9 o'clock. So, you don't always have to be there at the open.
I was doing that for a while, if you notice, getting up with John 3:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
sitting there all day long. And I got to where like my mind went numb. I couldn't see
Yeah.
the charts, couldn't make a decision.
Uh huh. Yeah. Exactly. And I've been in that I've been in that exact place. So I think that like having that be in the forefront of every one of your strategies. When I started writing out
Right?
some of my strategies, yeah, no worries. When I started writing out some of my strategies, that I actually wrote that stuff in there.
That's
Like,
a good idea.
ask myself those questions first before I start choosing a strategy for the day. Um, because that
Hmm.
that is kind of the foundation of those strategies.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I need to sit down and write down the different strategies, have them available to see. I wonder what the market's doing, then I can apply.
Yeah. Now here's a question for the audience. I wonder if anybody has counted how many times the word strategies has been said.
Drink.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, well, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down there. I'm gonna
Yes, sir.
jump on my daily stuff there. Thank you so much for jumping on. We're happy to have you, of course. And
Thank you, Joel. It's been a pleasure. It's been
yeah,
great.
absolutely,
Great.
absolutely.
You and anybody else that's watching us, hit that like, hit that subscribe. We're here every morning at 7:30 Pacific. That's 10:30 Eastern. And we love anybody to watch, listen, and we'll take any kind of comments or suggestions.
Love it. Thank you so much. Perfect
You're
job, by the
welcome,
way.
Joe. You and the
All
fam
right.
have a great day.
You too. Bye, guys.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Peace.